Yeah, a shorter video. Since basically we already had built everything on the previous videos. We did. We worked on. We did the UV mapping. We did texturing. We named all of our items, and we created a shader tree on the previous videos here. So everything is kind of ready to go. So like on preview mode, I have already our we should all have our logos and colors as desired. I mean, again, I chose green. You guys could be as creative as you want and just come up with it. You could color anything however you like. Just it's just more for the exercise. So I have everything set to this point. I'm just gonna kind of go backtrack a little bit with the camera, setting everything up for rendering, generating a rendering so that you guys know how to do that part. So then by the end of this video, you have a basic understanding on modeling a basic object like this one and coloring and putting it into a scene, a white studio background, um, um, properly UVing certain elements of the actual models or individual models, um, retexturing, bringing the logos into Photoshop or a pattern or whatnot, and then remapping, and then now we'll go through the rendering process. As we discussed in previous videos, you could actually navigate to like if we go to like um, control space perspective. Um, we talked about like panning around and just kind of selecting of an interesting view in which you might want to generate a visual or rendering from from this scene. So just pan around and see if you like anything. I mean, I think it's always kind of nice to show the front view. So if you could do that, that would be great. Set something nice. And I'm assuming that you guys probably have that right now, like a straight view, and perhaps like an angle view as well. So you could actually generate, add an add an additional camera, select one view, sort of a straight view like this, sync into it, and once you sync into position, something that you like, go into the camera view and adjust, as needed and polish it up to the way you like it. You could pan in and out. Um, Also, another thing is like once you have these set up into your grid, in which I'm actually, I don't know if I review, let me just indicate here. If you go to render view, um, so for rendering purpose and time and just to generate something that is not going to bog your machine, if you could generate something, let's say 5 by 6, let's just say 6, 5 by 6. 8 by 10 is usually nice. Just the typical like print sizes. 300 DPI, and then if you go to settings over here, so this is actually just right now we're actually setting up the camera to render, and we're gonna pick the straight angle, um, and we actually gonna set this into inches. 5 by 6, 300 DPI. So you should have like something that is similar to this. Try to bring in um, your product as close as with some somewhere in the middle nicely so that it looks like it's shot by a camera. And then you go to settings. This is actually where you actually set up, like, let's say you are on a really uh, you know fast machine that has 18 cores, it's plenty of memory and so on and so forth, and you're doing this for a client who wants something that is going to be like, let's say, 15 feet by 20 feet, and this has got to be really sharp and whatnot. The NTL it starts from like one sample pixel all the way to a 20 I mean 1024. So the further down you go, it's just going to take a lot longer, but it'll just sharpen anything that you're going to generate amazingly sharp. I usually keep it at 16, unless I'm doing something that is like, again, let's say just say minimum 20 by 20. Then I go up to like 32, and then again, that all depends on how well your models pay. Like the way we've been working is actually good enough to actually make sure that it will render nicely. Um, and if you go down here again, you see this. This is also a way of making sure the renders come out really nice. I keep it right in the middle. Fine will be even sharper and nicer. Um, and again, those are for like when you're doing glass and things that are a little bit more in detail that you want to make sure it looks really nice. So the medium, right in the medium area, you'll be okay. There won't need any need for any of these additional settings for what we're working on. Um, we're not, that's this reflection depth, and the refraction depth is if you have like 17 glasses of let's say cups with glass, and after a certain point you need to increase these, otherwise the cups in the back will start to look black because it's not um, generating the math to calculate the in and out between glass. It's just this whole refraction and reflection and refraction depth. So that's set for like things like that for glass and so on. But everything else you could just keep the way it is. And you have like this is this alpha. It's like if you create an image and then you want to basically an alpha around the image, so that because you want to get rid of the background, and instead of like trying to cut around this, you could just select an alpha, generate an image of a rendition of your model, and then, oh, you know what, instead of like cutting around it, you just turn it on, and it would only it not only will give you a rendering of your product, but it will also give you a rendering negative of the outside and a positive in the inside, so that you could use as an alpha to select your object from a product from Photoshop. We could probably go into that a little later. For now, let's just go into the rendering part. So now we have everything set to straight rendering, 5x6, 300 dpi, and then you can come up here where it says rendering on the top, the Modo, and then you just say or F9, but sometimes people F9 is something else for them, so the best thing to do is just come here and just click render, and automatically you're gonna have another let me just drag it through a window that pops in that looks like this. And this window is just gonna tell you, okay, I'm generating a rendering, and depending on how many cores you have, it's just you're gonna see like 2 of these or 4, and this one is an 18 core, so it's just chewing right through it. But once this stops, on top is gonna tell you it's done. You're gonna have what they call static. It is in this right hand side. It tells you how long it took to render, and a lot more information about what you just created. So, and then this is just color. I never even touched it, rarely. The only thing you need to do from here, once you just save it, just go down here and just say save, and then just name. Let's go into our folder that we just created, right? And just generate another folder, call it renderings. This at least keeps everything organized. So when you're working on your projects, you have your maps, models, and then you have your renderings. Anything that is like reference materials or um, anything that you're using to try to get this project from point A to B, you could create a folder that called supply, and just drop everything in there, so that it's things that you use to elements that you use to get this going. But the main, at the end of the day, it's like your main folders will be the map, model, and the rendering. So you could call this front view. Normally what I do is, for the client, I would just actually put the brand, a couple of letters, just to keep it short. Then front view, and then the date. The date's always important, because if you have any changes, the client's going to be like, yeah, well, at this day you send me this one, and just actually give it a number like revision 01, just in case like the client comes back. You usually when you work with a client on anything, this design or this whatever it is that you're doing requires 2 rounds of revision, and so like that, you give them an opportunity to review anything, and as you're working on your projects, if they want to change, you put in RV01 so they know you cover yourself when you dealing with these guys. Otherwise, you wind up doing work for free. So let's say RV1, they come back, little change RV2, and then anything after that is going to be X amount of money so that you cover yourself. Teaching you a little bit about business here, because there's a lot of crazy people out there, and they would actually take your money or waste your time if you're not on point. So so now this is actually the name ready to send to the client. The client's gonna receive this. He's already gonna know that you got their brand. It's a front view, revision 1, and the date. If you need to make any changes the following day, change the date, revision 2, and you just keep them organized that way. It helps you also when you generate your estimate. Make sure your estimate is the same way. This is gonna take 2 rounds of revision for a front view, side view, and the design, the same deal. 3 rounds of design, so on and so forth. All right, thank you. Save. So now we're gonna render the angle view. So we set the camera here, which is render angle to angle. If you see here, we go back to angle. You don't have to do this. So we basically telling the program that we want the program to render the angle. So you could actually come back here and just click on render, and the program is just going to render an angle view of what we worked on. And here you go. As you can see here, it's generating a rendering of the angle camera view. And then as simple as save image, click this, so that it's exactly as what we did previously. Instead of front view, you just go angle view. So now you have 2 different views. Save it. One other thing I want to do is actually I want to do a rendering of the cup, but without the sleeve. So if you go in the preview mode, because now we have 3 windows. You have, this is the rendering window, and if we move over the preview window under angle, this is what we're going to render now. So instead of re-rendering everything, we just want to render like probably this area here, just because there's no need to just, depending on the different machines, it might just to generate this again. We just don't need to generate all this. We already have this. We just want this part here. So if you go here, let's go back here. Obviously on this you won't see what's in the preview because this is the image generator. But if you click here where it says edit render region, this allows you to drag these like little handles, right? And drag it here, and I just want to generate this area out here, because I have all this additional information. Unfortunately, we can just kind of draw around it. It's just based on area. But if I want to render now, and you're gonna see everything you see here, but without this, you just click render. So it basically generates the same render, but just in that area without the sleeve, and it would be a lot faster. So now you could just actually say this. So you have an angle one, but we could call it angle, then no sleeve. These are things that help you understand what you're doing and what you're providing your client. So then you go save, and there you go. I mean, you have renderings now. So I mean, we could review any of these things next class Thursday, and we'll discuss further. We'll have different, we'll work out different sessions, so this a little bit more interesting now that you have these videos. I think you're gonna have a lot more questions and have more fun that you have these pace um in not such a lengthy video. So I think these videos are they're gonna be a lot more helpful. So I'll see you in class, and I hope that you have some good results. And if you have any questions, just feel free to email me anytime. I'm always looking at my emails since I work out of my home office. All right, thank you. Bye.